When the Detroit Lions lost Aidan Hutchinson October 13th, we thought that his season was over. That's what we saw. That's what we heard. And we didn't think there was any chance that he would come back anytime this season. It was a season-ending injury. Now, what wound up happening is the two bones, the tibia and fibula below the knee, between the ankle, he broke them both. It was a compound. It was not a compound fracture. It was a clean break inside the skin. Surgery was performed within 3 hours. He got hardware, and I believe the game was on Sunday. On Tuesday, he flew home. The Ford sent a private jet to pick him up to return to Ford Field. And we've seen a lot of things. We've seen every time the Detroit Lions have a home game since probably the month of November, at least the last couple of games, Aidan Hutchinson has been there. And we've seen his leg being elevated to and really like pillows and things underneath it to not so much. And just recently, we saw him walking unassisted. Now, I saw a video that Hutch is supposed to be using a cane, but he's not using the cane right now. I believe it's the video that we're going to watch today. And a lot of you guys think that his season was over. As a matter of fact, what really it tickles me when I see people in the comment section saying that he will not play this year. He's done for the season. Fake news, blah, 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 right? But it's about time you guys heard it from somebody other than me. I'm not going to ever give out fake news. It might be some rumor stuff that's coming out, but fake news, I'm not going to promote and push that out. I wouldn't do that to my audience. But the question is, Aidan Hutchinson, if the Detroit Lions made it to the Super Bowl, would he be able to play? That was the initial kind of time frame of him being able to play his return to the Detroit Lions. But now it has been pushed up. It has been pushed up, man. Aidan Hutchinson is truly a stud. He is the Terminator, man. Remember Dan Campbell said, if there was anybody that could come back from this injury and play this season, it would be Aidan Hutchinson. Shout out to Braylon and everybody else that sent me this information this morning. This is from earlier today or yesterday, so I'm sure you guys have seen it already. But this is what Jay Glazer had to say about Aidan Hutchinson potentially returning, the time frame it could be. Let's check it out.
Might they be getting some guys back?
Well, might be getting one of their biggest stars back a little bit sooner than maybe they thought. And Aidan Hutchinson, look, here's where he is. He's actually doing some underwater running on an underwater treadmill. He's able to walk on land, as they say. He's supposed to use a cane, but he's not really using it right now. And they actually are holding out hope, just because of how hard he works, that he could possibly be back. Not the Super Bowl, but the NFC Championship game, depending on that bone feels. And Dan Campbell says also how much practice he can get.
Hey, before we let you go, might they be getting some guys back?
Well, might be getting one of their biggest stars back a little bit sooner than maybe they thought. And Aidan Hutchinson, look, here's where he is. He's actually doing some underwater running on an underwater treadmill. He's able to walk on land, as they say. He's supposed to use a cane, but he's not really using it right now. And they actually are holding out hope, just because of how hard he works, that he could possibly be back. Not the Super Bowl, but the NFC Championship game, depending on that bone feels. And Dan Campbell says also how much practice he can get.
So you heard it right there. Dan Campbell said, and you heard it from Jay Glazer, that the Aidan Hutchinson, depending on how much practice he gets and how the bone heals, the dude could be back 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, that game. Now, I will assure you this. A lot of people are concerned about, they don't want Hutch to come back if he's not ready to come back. If there's any kind of potential for injury, I assure you that the Detroit Lions will not do that. We've seen this already. Jamison Williams, they did not rush him back. Hendon Hooker, they did not rush him back. The Detroit Lions are not into rushing people back. Emmanuel Mosley, Afitu Melifonwu, that's one thing we are not going to do. If Aidan Hutchinson comes back for the NFC title game or the Super Bowl, it's going to be that he is 100% cleared, that there's no risk of re-injury. I can understand if you guys are maybe worried about him risking or injuring something else, because that is a possibility if he overcompensates or maybe something isn't strong enough. But if these trainers, if these doctors, if this medical staff, coach, if they don't think he's ready, he's not going to play. I assure, no matter how much he tries, no matter how much he wants to get back, they will not let him play. A, if he's not medically cleared, and B, if they don't feel he's ready. He is too much of an investment. He has too big of a future with the Detroit Lions to risk it for coming back too soon. Now, what is too soon? Obviously, I'm not a doctor, right? But I have broken the biggest bone in my body, which is the femur. I broke my left femur twice when I was 6 and 14. You guys have heard the story before. But the difference between Hutch and myself is, one of the differences is Hutch they put hardware in his body, in his bone, to help it heal. Once the bone breaks, all it has to do is start to fuse together. The calcium in your body starts to fuse and make the bone whole again. In Aidan's case, he's got that, and he's got the hardware that they inserted as well. So I don't know if that'll make him stronger, but it expedites the healing process. Just to give you an example, if you break your femur back in, we're talking about the 80s, in the mid 90s. I don't know how they do it now, but I'm sure it's very similar. You have to go into traction for a matter. This is all you have. If you don't have the hardware, they wanted to do the same surgery that Hutch got, except it would have been in my femur. They would have inserted a rod. And instead of the traditional, normal, non-hardware recovery time, okay, which was, you guys ready for this? I spent 6 weeks in traction. That is with laying on your back. There's a metal rod through your leg. There are weights attached to it on a pulley that hang there for the majority of your time while there's a metal rod going through your tibia and fibia right below the knee, which somehow helps the femur, instead of contracting back on itself, it pulls it apart, allows it to heal naturally. Then after that, after you're released from traction and get out the hospital, all that's done in the hospital, unless you got a bed in your house, then you're put in a partial body cast, a cast that goes from your chest all the way down through the broken leg is 100% covered. The non-broken leg is covered up to your knee, and then you have a metal rod between your leg. Now you can't walk, you can't do any of that stuff. They might have progressed medical science in the meantime, and maybe you don't have to do that. So that you're in a partial body cast for the next 4.5 to 5 months. So if you're following me, before I even hit rehabilitation, you're talking about 6 months of time, half a year. Now, if you take the alternate route, where you do get the hardware, I could have actually had the surgery done and been discharged from the hospital and probably could have been walking in less than 6 weeks. So you see that? You're talking about 6 months versus 6 weeks. So there's a big time difference in recovery depending on the nature of your injury and what you can get done to help heal it. So Aidan Hutchinson can be back. Jay Glazer saying it. Dan Campbell said it. His family is saying it. He can be back. Now we're talking about the NFC title game, which is 2 weeks earlier. Now, if it were up to me, I would have him where I would say, you know what, Hutch, we got one game. If we're getting one game, obviously, we're going to get the Super Bowl, right? We're going to use you for that. At the same time, could you imagine Hutch saying, you know what? I can help this team get to a Super Bowl. The doctor said, I'm clear. I feel good. I'm ready to go. I want to help. So that's going to be up to the Detroit Lions. But just to put this in perspective, it has been 57 days since his injury. We have 62 days till the Super Bowl, and it'll be 48 days until the NFC title game. So if you look at the time frame, Hutchinson would have to be released. They would have to open his 21-day window for him to play realistically in the NFC title game before the month or earlier next month, because the NFC title game is on the 26th. So that first week, by week 18, his 21-day window would probably have to open. And if he's going to play in the Super Bowl, it would be somewhere probably around the divisional round. So let me know your thoughts. You can be honest. Do you want Hutch to play if he's ready, if he's cleared, if he's able? Or no matter what happens, even if he's good to go, the doctors say, you know what, he can go out there and play, no risk for injury. Do you want him to sit? Because I know Dan Campbell, they're going to do what's best for him. What's best for him is what's best for the team, right? So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. This channel is made possible by viewers, subscribers, and members just like you. You can be anywhere else on YouTube, but you choose to rock with me. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions.